Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Creighton.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. So Jody Lynn, I was telling you before we got started, today is kind of like the continuation of Digital Marketer Guest Week.
Yes.
Because the guest we had on Monday has a background as a digital marketer, and today's guest, Michelle Walters, also has a similar kind of background. So, which is kind of appropriate. I mean, as you know, I'm working on an AI project, so there's some digital stuff going on there. You've got some digital stuff that goes on as well. It's a continuation of the theme, which is a good thing. But today we're going to be tying into something that she's been offering called Make Me Hypnotherapy. That's been like another topic that we've been bringing in a number of different ways. So we're going to kind of tie the whole thing all together. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah. That sounds beautiful.
So let's bring her in. Michelle, hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the program.
I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me today.
And give us a little bit of your background, because I've already kind of spilled the beans. You have the marketing background, but most people, especially when they come onto a podcast and they've got something new that they think is going to really help other people, it is a reflection of stuff they went through themselves. I'm curious, is that the case here as well?
It is. Well, and part of the reason why I was so excited to appear on your podcast is a few years ago, I wrote a book about law of attraction, and that was inspired by my teacher, who I didn't really think about her being a hypnotherapist, but she was. And in her own way, her name was Karen Gresham. And in her own way, she was part of the inspiration for, I think, what took me to the field of hypnotherapy. At the time, I needed to do my training and become a hypnotherapist. And I've been working in that field now for a few years. And then earlier this year in 2025, I got this brilliant little idea to make an app. So I made my app. It's called Make My Hypno, and it makes custom hypnotherapy recordings for people in a matter of minutes.
Okay.
Wow.
Is it okay if I ask you, can you tell us a little bit about what your situation was that led you to do this kind of thing for yourself and then realize, oh, wow, an app is going to be great for other people as well?
Sure. So I have been recording, and lots of other hypnotherapists make recordings for our clients because people love self-hypnosis recordings. And I make them custom for my clients, but of course I have to charge some money for that because I'm sitting at my mic and I have to check them and all this kind of stuff. And I also record for another app that has hypnosis and meditation recordings. And there's a lot of content in other apps. There's people who've got these recordings on YouTube and all of these places. But when I thought about it, I was like, well, there's like a big difference between going to YouTube and hearing a help me relax and go to sleep thing, and working with Michelle and having her do a custom, I know what makes you fall asleep. I can make something exactly for you. And there's a way to bridge that gap and provide something for people that is made custom for them, but without me having to sit at the mic. So that's where I came up with the idea for Make My Hypno. I haven't found many other tools that are quite like it on the market right now, but I suspect that people will, over time anyway, transition from wanting, something to help them go to sleep or something to help them with confidence or anxiety in a general sense, to recognizing that for a little bit more money, not private hypnosis kind of money, but for a little bit more money, they can get a script that's made just for them. So the scripts that Make My Hypno creates helps people by putting in their name, and it's for whatever they want it to be, and their beautiful place that helps them relax, and it include their own affirmations and deep personal details, and it gets all rolled together and delivers about a 16-minute script via email in about 5 minutes. I fell into doing this kind of work because, as I mentioned, I had a teacher, and I didn't really think about her as a hypnotherapist. I really thought of her as like a law of attraction teacher for the most part, and kind of a therapist, really, to help me through a lot of personal trauma and grief. I was married. My husband got really sick and needed a transplant. And then he was in the hospital for a few years, or care facilities. And then years later, I found a new partner because my husband passed. I found a new partner who just floated my boat and made me very, very happy. And then he passed.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, I'm not that old, right? And so I just know that there's so many people out there where life throws you a curveball, and you need to figure out ways to, kind of get your stability and your grounding. And for some people, that's private one-on-one hypnotherapy work, which is my chosen field. I think it's a magnificent way of resolving pain and trauma and that kind of a thing that can lie in the subconscious. But partly, I think, from that digital marketing side of me, I was like, there's a good way to do this, and nobody's doing this, and I want to help people this way. And I'm blessed that I've pulled it together, and now I have an app, and people are telling me just how great these scripts are, which, like, I mean, I thought they'd be good, but they're even better than I thought they would be. I've had people tell me that as a result of listening to their script, they finally got to the gym. They started doing their exercises. Somebody told me that her script made her cry, which,
Wow.
it's not really meant to make you cry, but if that's what needs to come out, that's what needs to come out.
Mhm.
So it's a powerful new tool available to people.
Very
Wow.
good. Yeah. And it did evolve out of your own experience. I'm curious, when you were putting together the concept and also trying to kind of hammer out how it's actually going to be put together, because there's certain things you have to do in order to make that happen. Did you find yourself testing on yourself first? That's what most people who develop problems-
Well, of course.
And what was your experience as you were doing that?
Well, I thought they were pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, as I said, I record for clients, I record for apps and that kind of a thing. And I thought, this actually, is it as good as my individual recordings? I'll be honest. I don't think it's quite as good. My individual recordings for people, I'm like channeling what to say. And of course, that isn't happening in a little 5-minute automation kind of thing.
Right.
But the sound quality is good. People are finding that they're very relaxing. People are listening to them as they fall asleep, and they're helpful for sleep. So, I would listen to them and check the wording, and then I would need to go back and reteach the engine. No, that we don't want that kind of rule. We want a different kind of way. And I have 19 different applet usage focus. I call them focus areas, but 19 different things you can make recordings for right now. And so each one I needed to go through. Does this do a good job of making a recording for confidence? Does this do a good job of making a recording for sleep? And so, it took some work. I don't want to say it took an excessive amount of work. It wasn't excessive, but it was some work to get the project pulled together.
Some trial and error.
Yeah.
And seeing what worked, and it's an ongoing process. As I get more feedback from people, somebody told me, I want to make one, but I don't want my name in it. Well, it's designed to have your name in it. And then I was like, I don't want to rebuild it because I think many people will like this. And I was like, oh, you don't want your name in it? Just don't put in your name. Put in higher self, or, my wise inner being, or whatever you want to substitute for your name. Oh, the client said, nope, that's a great idea. Okay. So you live and learn.
What you're touching on has implications, because since you're using AI to build this, that's what made me think of it. But the implication is also just as true for humans. AI, for those who have only dabbled in it or perhaps haven't dabbled in it at all, is very highly dependent on what they call prompt. The prompt is what you enter into the AI, and how you enter it and what you say and how much detail you provide informs what kind of response you're going to get back from the AI. Interestingly enough, the same thing happens with humans. So how much input are we going to put in? What kind of input are we going to put in? What is that message going to say? And is it going to be talking to us in the way that we want it to talk to us? I mean, this is something that human to human relationship, it's what coaches have to deal with. I mean, you were talking about therapy and coaching. I'm Jody Lynn, you're a coach. I mean, this is a key part, right? When you're coaching somebody, a lot of what you're doing is you're asking questions that are designed to prompt the person you're working with to get the kind of response out that they need to get out, right?
Yeah. Uncover whatever's hidden.
Yeah. So
Yep.
so the prompt part is really very critical with both
The
AI
prompt
and
part is a core element of the way my system works. And it was a harmless remark, but another friend who's a software developer, done lots of theoretical learning about how AI works, and a gentleman, I will say, said to me, oh, well, when this is going wrong, you fix it by doing this. And I said, actually, in practice, you don't. I don't think you're that far yet, but my experience with my app that is operational and producing great content proves that that's what the AI classes will tell you. And other solutions must be experimented with in order to find one that actually works and results in things. You can't there's the theory of how it's all supposed to work, and then there's the actuality of how it works. And it wasn't massive problems. Wasn't a roadblock for weeks or anything like that. But there were some things where it was like, oh, you would think this would work, but it doesn't. So now what do we try?
And a lot of it has to do with what AI you're using at the back end, because quite honestly, they're all different. I mean,
yeah, they are all different.
Uniform, but they're not uniform, not even close.
They are all different. And then, my app turns scripts into voice, right? It makes everything in my voice. And there are different text to voice tools that have different quality levels. And so I needed to experiment and, choose the one that I thought would do the best job today. And it's interesting because, as you guys mentioned, I was in digital marketing for years, but the way that we developed an app 5, 10, 20 years ago is so radically different from how to do something today. Now it's a little bit of a puzzle piece jigsaw. And I can kind of go, I had one part of my app that wasn't working very well. Oh, said a programmer. Well, we could just swap out this system with this system and see if that works better. Whole lot better. So it's a very iterative process in terms of the making of it. But what's really beautiful is just what is coming out of it. My little app is not going to put dozens of people out of work. It's not going to change the world in massive, massive ways. But is it going to provide, hopefully, thousands of people with a higher quality means of relaxing that is more supportive and tied into their subconscious than what they get from YouTube or some other pre-recording? Absolutely. It's a different product.
So Jody Lynn, let's hypothetically, let's hypothesize. That's the word I'm trying to get to. Let's hypothesize. You're working with your clients, right? And you can pick whatever clients you have in mind, and maybe pick one out who you think this kind of product would actually work for. What would be helpful for? How would you help that person, first of all, deal with the various there are different resistance levels that we have when it comes to things that are AI related. There's a lot of negative psychology that's out there and so forth. So there's a certain degree of resistance to overcome. But beyond that, how would you also frame how they could use it to their advantage? In other words, what you think would be helpful to them, knowing what you know about them as a coach?
I think it's the customization process without the price tag. I think that you nailed it, Michelle, at the very beginning, that it costs a decent dollar to go and sit and have a hypnotherapy session. And even when you have a hypnotherapy session, you get the recording of it, but it's not a recording that you listen to every single day to reprogram something. And there's a lot of different like programs that are out there. I remember like early on in my personal development journey, there was a couple of hypnotherapists that had like money hypnotherapy tapes or, you know, whatever, right? So I got the box set and I'd listen to them every night and whatever, but it wasn't customized to me and what I was thinking. It was so general and generic. At least with this one, you can prompt it to, you know, I'm struggling if it's with money. That's usually what I coach about, on money, abundance, that side of things. So I'm struggling with, I never feel like there's enough. So you can program that in, you know, to be like, Jody Lynn, see around you how there's thousands of blades of grass and there's more than enough. Like the customization is where it's at without the price tag that most people, not most people, but some people can't afford to get that customization. Because I know I have friends who do hypnotherapy recordings, and it's $500, $1,000, $2,000 depending on what you're getting recorded.
Yeah, it costs money to hire a hypnotherapist to sit at his or her mic to put in all of their years of training and their individualization and sometimes their, you know, connection to source or wherever they're getting their materials from. And this is a good system for something that is a different price point, a different offering. I've had other hypnotherapists who've been like scratching their heads a little bit about this because it's pretty new. It's a new idea. And many of them, I think, are initially concerned that this is a substitute for their one-to-one work. But I don't see it that way at all. This is not, is it a substitute for me? Sort of, kind of, but you're not going to get the same results. Right? When I'm working with a one-to-one client, we're going in deep, we're looking at inner child work, we're looking at regressions and all the kinds of things that you all and most of your audience would be familiar with, the sort of work that a professional clinical hypnotherapist would do with you, working on a problem of significant size. If you are nervous about a minor procedure next week, you are not going to contact a hypnotherapist for many, many sessions to get through that. But my little app would be a great way to build your confidence, to deal with any concerns, to visualize that procedure is all going to turn out great. In terms of thinking about sort of specifically money coaching, as I mentioned, I have 19 different things it works for. I don't have money coaching on the list, but I do have confidence on the list. And the great thing about being able to use the customization techniques within the questions that I ask someone is you could say, I want to imagine living in a beautiful home, in a life of abundance. And what are my sort of little particulars? I want to be better at managing my money. I want to imagine money as my friend. I want to, you know, whatever the kinds of things are that would be appropriate to him or her. And then voila, recording in 5 minutes. It's not instant. I don't think it will ever be instant.
But almost.
But 5 minutes? People can wait 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and I think you could even liken it to going to the gym. Like you can have a personal trainer that shows you this is how you activate this muscle group and this is what we're going to do. But most people are like, yay, I go to the gym once a week to work out with my trainer, but I can't get my ass in gear to go every day or, you know, 3 times a week or whatever the marker is. Whereas, okay, so you still need the once a week so you can learn whatever it is to get over the trauma, you know, all of those things. But then also having a little audio clip that runs for 5 minutes and you meditate for 5 minutes with this thing every single day to help you reprogram the brain will get you the rest of the way there. It's like a coach in your ear every day.
Well, I spoke to a customer who had one of these recordings, and I talked to her maybe a week or 10 days after she got the recording. And she said, well, I made it for exercise and I'm not really seeing a whole lot of progress on my exercising, but I'm sleeping really well.
Good.
Okay, that's good. And then I talked to her 2 weeks later and she said, it kicked in. She said it needed a little bit more time. She was listening to it when she would fall asleep at night. She said it kicked in. She says, now I'm out walking every day. I'm dancing to the TV. I'm like, I have also designed these recordings to be something that you could listen to sort of having a quiet little break during the day. But I know people are busy. They're barely going to make time for that. And so I recommend to a lot of people, just put this on your phone, because even though I know we're not supposed to have the phone next to bed, a lot of us do. You can listen to it right as you fall asleep. Doesn't take out any time from your day, but your subconscious, because you are always listening in your sleep, is still getting the message. And it may not get the message the next morning. Some people have told me I woke up the next morning and I was eating better or whatever. But if it doesn't hit immediately, don't give up. It's like going to the gym. You need to do a certain number of reps. And that's when it's a better time to assess how it's helping you.
Yeah, what we're talking about here is reprogramming the nervous system, what they call it, the neuroplasticity, taking advantage of that neuroplastic nature of the mind and of the brain and using it to our advantage by reprogramming habitual patterns into new habitual patterns. And that takes some time. It isn't neural water, it's neuroplastic. I mean, it has to have some time to remold itself.
Yeah, it takes time. And it depends, like I said, it depends on the need. You know, you're having a procedure you're anxious about. Well, just having something to help calm you down for a week could be huge, you know? Or another gal tried the recording because she felt she had a little imposter syndrome going on and she was giving a big presentation. Oh, she listened to her recording and she stood up and aced the presentation and sold a big client. So, you know, it's we all need support. And this is a really easy way to get some.
You mentioned the hypnotherapists who might be a little resistant at first to the idea, but as you pointed out, what this really does is it covers that aspect where the hypnotherapist would actually have to be there on scene with the client every day to reproduce the behavior over and over again, which is the last thing that either the hypnotherapist or the client really wants to have happen. First of all, because it's too time consuming, and second of all, because it's too damn expensive to do that. So it's really an adjunct. It's something that reinforces and supports what the therapist does, which makes me think, I would imagine, now I don't know how much of this has actually happened, so you'll have to kind of fill in the blank here, but I would imagine one of the most effective ways for a patient or client and a hypnotherapist to use this would be to have the hypnotherapist help create the prompt that produces the recording, and then let the client use that prompted AI generated recording to reprogram their consciousness and subconscious mind.
Exactly. And I know, because I have put in more time with my app than anybody, what are good ways to get the results out of the system. And so a number of times I've had people curious to do this, and I've been like, okay, great, let's just get on a Zoom call. I can help you order it. Because for right now, I can make some time to help people with that. It doesn't take a lot, and people have been figuring it out pretty well on their own. But for example, like in your situation, I'm a money coach. How do I get it to do money? That might not fly off the page immediately as to how to make it do that, right? But there are ways of prompting it where it'll do it. We just need to fill out the forms in the right way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if anybody that is a hypnotherapist that is listening, another reframe would also be that this is putting a fence around your clients if you had access to this, because you're in their ear more often than just the one time that they came to see you, or a couple of times that they came to see you. Now they're like, oh, hey, you know, I don't need a full-blown session to deal with stuff, but I want a little tape because I'm going through this or I'm going through that or whatever. They come to you and say, hey, can I have it? It's a different price point, But then when they need you again, you're top of mind for them. 'Cause they're listening to you.
Absolutely. You know, back when I worked in digital marketing, I worked at an agency and we had high prices. And my colleague was like, how are we going to support that we charge these high prices? And I was like, you know, some people buy scooters and some people buy airplanes. We are selling airplanes, you know? And so as I see it, really Make My Hypno is the bicycle, right? And individual hypnotherapy is the private jet. I mean, it's not that expensive, but you know what I mean? Like there are different ways to do this, and they're not really, I mean, bicycles and private jet both get you places, but it's a very different mode of transportation.
Yeah. And it's not that bad of a comparator either, because I mean, hypnotherapy, you made reference to it before, it's pricey. It's a lot more pricier than people might expect if they've never explored it before. It's more expensive than traditional therapy. It's $1.50.
It's more expensive, and it's typically more effective. There are studies showing that, I'm terrible remembering this number, but that hypnosis is effective like 90% of the time in 6 or 10 sessions or something like that. And psychotherapy, you can go for 200 sessions and it's 30% effective. It's something like that. I don't know. The stats are somewhere on my website, but it's, why is it expensive? It's expensive because it's fast and it works. And people like things that are fast and work.
And quite honestly, it's also a supply and demand thing. I mean, there aren't all that many people who get into doing hypnotherapy.
No,
There just aren't.
There aren't. It is a bit of a niche,
Yeah.
and there are choices out there. If you're looking for a hypnotherapist, there's probably a few in your community if you live in a relatively urban setting, and it's important to know that you like somebody's personality, that you like somebody's voice. I once met someone and she said, oh, I met another hypnotherapist and she's in a networking group with me. And so I'm inclined to recommend her to my clients. But I can't work with her. And I said, oh, you can't work with her? What do you mean? And she says, well, her voice is exactly like my mother. And my mother is the one who caused the problems. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this had not occurred to me. But so if my voice matches the one of your mother, then I might not be the best choice for you. But you know, you have to find somebody that you're going to jive with, that feels right, that feels like they understand you and has the right training. I've also met hypnotherapy is something where the level of training that people have can vary widely. I've met people with under 100 hours of training and they're like, yeah, I'm good to go. And me, I've got hundreds of hours. So it's not always completely related to your results, but it is helpful to understand as you're talking to people that you might want to know kind of what is their background? How have they dealt with your problem before? The work that I love as a hypnotherapist, though, is that when I'm working with people one-to-one, I can really get into what makes one person tick versus another person tick. You know, like I've had multiple women come to me for hair pulling, where they pull little bits of hair when they get sort of nervous or anxious or something. And as I've worked with these women, I've realized that what works for Jane does not work for Susan. And so, you know, why? Because Jane is doing this for Jane's reasons and has Jane's life experience, and Susan is doing it for Susan's reasons and has Susan's life experience. And so we have to kind of fold all of that together into the way that will produce the best results for each individual. Now, Make My Hypno, it doesn't get into that, you know? And so I still do make custom recordings for my clients. There are situations where you can't prompt Make My Hypno to cover something at the level that you could cover with an individual. When I have my mic and I have my editing my music editing software and all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it does fill a real gap in the market, and I think it's going to make hypnosis and self-hypnosis just much more attainable for people and more effective.
Which is very valuable for sure. I'm
Mhm.
curious if you've encountered something. I'll give you like a little quick background. I'm working on an AI project that it's fairly extensive, but to give you like the broad brush, I'm trying to get multiple AIs into the same chat room at the same time, and then I'm trying to get them to do tasks together, which is there's a whole thing that's involved in that.
That sounds hard.
It is, and it's been a long-term project. And I'm making great progress, especially over the last 2 weeks. I've had some immensely good progress, but I won't even go down that road. What I do want to do is pull out one piece of the experience and see how much it ties into what you found with developing your scripts for your clients. One of the things that I found that is particularly true with AI is that it's very possible to prompt an AI in such a way that you unwittingly contradict yourself, and the AI has to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, that has happened to me, but more often my experience in developing my app would be that I had to remind it or correct it of something that it spaced out about or forgot about.
Yeah, it's called
So,
drift. Yeah.
yeah, because as most AI app builders today, how do you build an AI app? You ask AI how to build it.
Yeah.
And right?
And you still
And
get some answers.
Yeah.
and I can't remember what it was exactly right now, but I had it telling me, "Oh, you need to do it this way." And I was like, "I can't do it that way because the app doesn't know that yet. We haven't collected that data point or whatever."
Mhm.
And then it sat there for a while. It sat there.
Mhm.
You're right. We don't know that yet. We can't do that. So, it's a collaboration, right? Me and the AI in the development process. But your project sounds exciting and ambitious.
It is. It's both. And I mean, I'm going to do at least 1 or 2 shows in the future to kind of go into detail about it. But I have learned a lot, not just about AI, but about the way I think, about the way humans think, about all the different ways we set ourselves up without realizing it. It's really an astonishing, like anything else in life, it's a mirror. When you do a project like this, the project mirrors back to you expectations and assumptions and prejudices and so forth that you didn't even know that you had, and then you have to deal with them. You have to find some way to iron your own stuff out so that you can do better on the project. And that's one of the things that's happened a lot. One of the things that I've come to appreciate, I can tell you, I can give you this piece of it. One of the things that I've been really emphasizing with the way I'm doing my project, and I think a lot of the top developers do the same thing, is creating a blueprint. So the blueprint becomes the defining way of saying, this is all the stuff that has to happen when we're building this thing. And that blueprint, you have to follow to the letter. There can be no deviation from the blueprint. That's how you avoid the drift that you were talking about before. That's how you keep everything focused on exactly the way you want to focus it and so forth. And it's a challenge because writing that blueprint, it's not a one and done. It's not even close to a one and done. You have to do it and then revisit it and see it didn't work over here and come back and revisit it again and then do it again and then do it again. Just refine until you finally start to create a shape. It's literally a shape. It's a metaphorical, imaginary shape of how this particular messaging is going to work. And the more that you refine it, the better results that you get. Not surprisingly, that's kind of why I was asking my question. If you'd encountered that whole thing about contradicting yourself, because I mean, there are ways I was contradicting myself in my blueprint. I didn't even know I was contradicting.
I think my system is a
AI
lot
to show me
simpler
what I
than
was
yours.
Yeah,
I mean, my
obviously
system has its complexities, but it is not as complicated as what I'm hearing your project
and that makes
to
sense.
be.
Yeah. But I was just wondering if you encountered it.
Well, I mean, like I ran into places where I would tell the system, you have to do this. And then the output was not that. And I would say, I told you the output had to be this. This is the output you gave me. why doesn't it meet that criteria? And really, I got kind of, I don't know, stupid answers like you might get from a junior employee who didn't really know why he did what he did, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so I realized, okay, just like you might have to tell the junior employee something 3 or 4 times, I may have to put these instructions of how to do this in the system 3 or 4 times. And that provided I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know that the AI knows why, but that did help to get a more consistent quality work product out of what I was doing.
Yeah, what you're describing fits in with the mirror motif I was talking about earlier, because I would ask myself the same question. Why am I'm explaining this clearly. Why isn't the AI getting this? I don't grasp what's going on here. And so I keep trying. And then over time, I'd finally realize that I was telling it A over here and I was telling it X over there, and assuming that the AI could tell the difference, when in fact it was trying to treat the two equally. So, it wasn't the AI, it was me. I was the problem. But it took a lot of interaction to get to that point.
It takes a lot of trial and error and a lot of belief in the system and a lot of faith, I think, really, that you can get out of it what you want to get out of it. Because I'm sure as I've talked to the AI about how to build my AI tool, oh, no problem. You just do this and this and this and this. It'll all work. And then you go and you look in a little deeper and it's like, well, actually, there is no API there. And there is no whatever. And there is no whatever. And so now I'm going to call you on this. Like you said, I could do ABC, but I can't. Oh, you're right. Okay, how do we move forward from here? Or
well, welcome to the world of AI prompting.
Yeah, but it's a means to an end, right? It's really a means to an end, and the end, I think, is really exciting and empowering. I mean, I don't know, but I like to think that there will be a change over months or years, that people will realize, I don't have to just take my favorite recording from hypnotherapist Jane off her website or off her YouTube channel. I can instead get one that is made for me today with what's going on for me today. And that is what is going to be substantially more effective. I'm such a science person. I want to be able to say it's twice as effective, but of course,
that's what I wanted to ask you.
I don't know. What I know is that the testimonials that have come back have been lovely and very, very positive. And I've tried to ask a couple of people, okay, here's one I recorded that's not custom, and here's one that I recorded that is custom, and I want you to tell me the difference. But they don't do so well with that. They just say, oh, I like the one made for me.
Well, that actually makes sense, because if it's custom made for you, it's going to resonate more with you. If it's not custom made to you, a lot of it's not going to fit. So it's going to say, oh, okay, well, that's not bad. No, but it's not going to have
It enables you to visualize these things much more clearly. So, one of the people who gave me a great testimonial for an exercise one, she put that she wanted to visualize herself at the lakeside gym. I don't remember. Like, she put the name of the gym that she wanted to imagine herself being at. And she wanted to imagine herself doing these kinds of strength training exercises. Well, that's a whole lot more clear than you're going to make yourself stronger. Like, it plays with the being specific. And I think that's really, I mean, getting back to sort of manifesting ideas, that's like a lot of what I think about when I think about manifesting is playing with this idea of when do you want to be really specific versus when do you want to be sort of open to how the universe delivers that for you, right? I think about it sometimes like a Google map, right? Like you can look at the map of San Francisco where you're looking at it from here, and you can look at it, we're looking at the block, right? Like they're both the same thing, but they're different viewpoints on the same kind of data. And I think that that's a large part of how I work with my clients in hypnotherapy. I also think it's part of how people manifest things, is they play with this recognition that, you know, I mean, I am not a manifesting money expert, but that they're going to get better about money, they're going to be more friendly with their money, they're going to be less anxious about their money. And then but exactly how that pans out for Bill versus David is going to be a little bit different, right? Bill might do it by looking at his bank account every day, and David might do it by calling his broker. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like they're different ways of looking at things, and you have to figure out what works for you.
Jody Lynn, have you done much with these kinds of recordings with either with yourself or with your clientele?
Yeah, I have. With myself and with my clientele. I'm not a hypnotherapist or trained in any way. I am a channel. And so I've recorded things that I've channeled specifically for one individual client at a time. Or it would be the broader sense of like I'm having a group interaction, and I'm going to do a meditation, and I'm going to bring you into a different state, and then deliver whatever message needs to come through. That's why I think this is so fascinating, because you could literally prompt it to do an individual recording for each person. Like I think about it for my practice. Wouldn't that be amazing? I already know their blueprint of what's going on, ask them a bunch of questions. It'd be so easy to be like, spit it into this thing, and bam, you have a recorded session. I think it's awesome.
All right.
Yeah, without you having to sit in front of the mic and edit it and email it and
exactly,
all the little pieces. Yeah.
Make sure that you have music and it's licensed properly or whatever. All the things that go into it. There's quite a bit. And then I've purchased also custom. I've both custom and non-custom, like generic ones that are like about money or about relationships or, generic things. And then the customization of, a target of hitting $30,000 a month or whatever it might be. So I've had lots of different experiences, but I think this one's unique and so cool because it's customized to you and what you're going through. And really, once you start, like the platform that you have, you could continue to build it and keep adding different.
Oh, I have all kinds. I'm very creative and very, like I've got all these other ideas. So I'm looking for other hypnotherapists who want to partner with me on this. So if you're a hypnotherapist and you're curious about that, please hit me up, because it is designed in such a way that I can work with them to put in their scripting words and techniques and ways and their voice, and then the output would be custom to hypnotherapist Jane Doe, right? And I don't know, it's a big step, but there's a lot of people like you, Jody, out there, and I'm like, it wouldn't be that hard for me to switch this from Make My Hypno to Make My Meditation. and look at what a solution for that would look like. So I expect, because I'm me, this is just kind of who I am, that there will be a number of evolutionary steps in both this product and ancillary products, because I think the world deserves custom. Most of us do not go to Starbucks and order a black coffee. Most of us go to order our coffees and it's with this much cream and this much sugar, or it's, whatever. Like we like things. We live in a custom, give it to me now world. And that's what I wanted to happen with Make My Hypno.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting. A thought just occurred to my mind when you talked about going to a Starbucks or whatever. If you go in and order, now I'm not a coffee drinker, so I had to have this explained to me recently, but If you go and you order a black coffee, they'll give you the black coffee. They'll give it to you really quickly. There's no wait because they just pour it into a cup. Okay, there you go. It's cheaper. It's the cheapest one you can get on the menu, and almost nobody orders it. They all want the more expensive ones that you have to build all the stuff into.
Yeah.
Which raises a very important point. It's not about the expense. It's about the customization, not making
people
it the way
like
you
the
want it.
customization. We want things custom. I mean, that's just, I think the world has just evolved to wanting more and more things custom, right? And we live in a world where when it comes to, if you can make that product or service digitally, you kind of should be able to get it awfully custom. Maybe not everything all the time, but I don't see in my mind why people will go on too long buying their coffee black, listening to the YouTube recording that was made 7 years ago for sleep that is set on the beach when you like to imagine falling asleep in a ancient Greek sleep temple, right?
Or you've got to pee every 5 minutes, so now the water is making it worse.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, why do I have a sleep thing that has water in it when I can't listen to water?
You got to pick something that works for you, right? So
Very, very good points. This has been fun. This is a fascinating conversation. One thing we haven't really
I think it's
done,
really
though-
cool. You're an AI developer too. I don't meet them every day.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice to meet you.
And I've been doing some stuff that, especially over the last week or two, I found a paper that was published by a couple of guys in MIT that has completely shifted the way. I started the project again from scratch because of what they wrote in their paper.
Oh,
What?
wow.
Yeah, completely from scratch. And
Wow.
by the way, in that period of time, we're almost back to where I was 2 weeks ago. That's how great their paper really was. I'll do a whole show where we give credit to these guys because they're really amazing.
We should
But
invite
what
them
they're
on.
proposing is just mind-blowing. But
The-
anyway, that's
the-
another thing.
The technology is moving so fast and so quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I have a good friend. She's like, "Oh, I think I'll go out and take a class." I'm like, "Don't take a class. Find a project." Because if you take a class by the end of 10 weeks, it'll be different. It won't work the same way as when you started the class.
Yeah,
If
just
your
ask.
hands are actually in the prompting, in the systems, then you are up to date, right?
Yeah. And just ask it, how do I work you? And how's the best way
Yes.
to work with you? And it'll
How
tell
do
you.
I work you? And oh, you told me this, but it doesn't work. Go research and tell me why that didn't work. That's one of my favorites. Oh, I gave you instructions based upon version 3.3. I see now that there was an update in July and that I need to tell you where the new menu is. Great.
Oh,
Whatever.
okay.
Just give it to me as it works today. I don't want to spend more time on this than I need to.
And by the way, just to kind of give the flip side of the idea, if it is something that you want to develop because you want to develop a career along this line, there are actually now universities that are offering degrees in AI and how to prompt AI. And they're advertising that the people who are graduating with their degrees, which are usually like 2-year degrees, the people graduating with their degrees are being grabbed up by the corporations that are desperate to have this kind of expertise coming. And so if you really do want to pursue that path, investigate it. There are, I don't know how many, I'm going to guess somewhere along the line of 10 to 15 different universities offering these kinds of degrees. They're relatively affordable compared to most college degrees. And I mean, from what I'm hearing, the people who are graduating with them are just being snapped up. So
Well, it's
for those who want to do
interesting.
that,
I live outside of San Francisco, and about a month ago, I was invited to this think tank meeting for AI companies and founders and that kind of a thing. And so I sat in this cool room and they gave us lunch, and I'm like, oh wow, little old me make my hypno with all these other people. And they had show of hands, who's got their product working, who's got something on the market. And it was like me and I don't know, 2 other people, but most of the room was like, yeah, we're working on it.
right?
And when you start talking to people, it's like, oh, it's because you worked at a big company. There's certainly plenty of big tech companies in the city. And all of you have to agree about how this is going to work. You've got umpteen engineers and umpteen approval people and umpteen risk managers and umpteen whatever. And that really complicates things. I mean, for me, I'm me. I have people I partner with. I have, helpers and that kind of a thing. But there aren't 17 layers of decision quality making,
Which is going to speed it up tremendously. Oh yeah, you're going to move a lot faster.
And hence there's, I was able to produce this in a couple of months, actually. Right. Could have gone faster if I'd known things I didn't know,
Well, next time you'll probably do it in 2 days. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Well, I don't know if I could do it in 2 days, but there were some of those hiccups, and some of that AI saying, oh, we can have this done, very quickly. Well, actually, it took a little bit more than that.
But look how much you learned in the process. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I said that you could probably get it done in 2 days instead of 2 months because of what you learned. Not so much from what the AI learned.
No, it's unbelievable how fast it all goes.
Yeah. So we've given people some good teasers and so forth about what the product is, but we really haven't told them the most important part. How do they find this thing?
Very easy. I call it an app, but it's not really an app. It's actually a .com. So you will find it by typing into your browser. The name of the website, the app, is makemyhypno.com, makemyhypno.com. And you go there and you'll see pretty quickly how it all works. Get yourself over to the form page. There's easy 4 little who I am, what I want this for. You put in like your email address and you verify your email, you pay and you get your recording in about 5 minutes. And I have special for you guys, for everyone who's kind enough to put me on their podcast, I have a discount code. And so I can give you guys a special URL to put in our show notes and send your folks over for a little bit of savings on people's purchase.
Wow.
And if you can give that to Jen too, she'll make sure she gets that into the show notes so people can pick it up from there as well.
Will do.
Do you also do you welcome contact from people who are maybe they're struggling with it, trying to figure out what to do, and they're looking a little for a
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just because I have this little product over here on the side doesn't mean I don't love helping people with their bigger projects. I'm in the East Bay of California. I have an office here and see people in person, but I also, about half my clients are online and would love to speak to your audience, people who I might be able to help with their issues.
What's the best way for people to reach you?
Through my personal website, which is michellewalters.net. There's a big button on the homepage. It says schedule a consult, and you can just set up a time to talk with me one-on-one, and we'll see if I'm a fit to be able to help you. My name and website are spelled MICHELLEWALTERS.net.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah. So, okay, Jody Lynn is leaning into her camera. That tells me she knows what's coming next. Because what comes next, Michelle, is I always ask my co-host to kind of tie the whole thing together with a bow because she's really good at it. And she knows how to really pick out the most important salient parts to emphasize. So Jody Lynn, what are you emphasizing today? What's the takeaway?
Ooh, I love hypnotherapy. I am becoming more of a lover of hypnotherapy, even more than I was before. In fact, today alone, I did a 4-hour session in hypnotherapy, which was mind blowing. But I think it's a tool that I've used throughout, the last 20 years to help me understand me, to help me go deeper into the subconscious and to really eradicate things that no longer serve me. And what I love about our conversation today, it's bringing the tool to people who either have never used it before or who like it but can't afford a full-blown session or a customized recording, but they can get it for the price point where they can afford it, and it's customized for what they actually need. So it feels like a really Robin Hood moment almost, where you're bringing it to the people, for the people. And I really truly think that it's something that can help people come over this hump with it, whatever they're dealing with, and help them get into a better frame of mind and to excel in whatever desires they are working towards. And that's so incredibly special. And I also see it branching out and helping coaches and people that are doing meditation and hypnotherapy and all these other people in industries too. It's a huge ripple effect. So Michelle, thank you so much for building this and coming to talk to us about it. I think it's going to be very impactful.
Yeah, I hope so. And thank you very much. Thank you for that beautiful sum up, Jody Lynn. Thank you, Walt. It's been great to be here on your show today.
Our pleasure. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when Jody Lynn brings in that many points to tie together, that means, first of all, she's a consummate note taker. She probably has more than her usual collection of notes today. And she found more things that had to be tied in as, oh, we got to emphasize this and this and this. That's a good sign. When Jody Lynn has to do that, you know you've hit the main point. So well done on that one. One final thing that I want to do that I do at the end of every show, now that we live in the 21st century where we have all these wonderful tools and we do all this digital marketing and all this other kind of stuff like that, I noticed a few years ago, we have this gap that goes on that we know it's there. We just don't give it any attention, which is, we do podcasts. You have your thing, you go on to our podcast, other podcasts, you have other ways that you're outreaching and so forth. I'm sure you're probably writing articles and doing YouTube and all kinds of stuff like that. And in the process, you're sharing information. You're sharing not just information, but here's what's worked. Here's what my experience has been. Here's what my clients' experience has been. Here's some ideas that might help you, that kind of thing. And so we're helping people in ways that we don't even know about, and we don't get credit for that. And that's where I said, wait a minute, we should be getting credit for this. So, Michelle, on behalf of those people you've never met and never seen and never will meet and never will see, who you've been helping in ways you didn't even know about just by sharing your message, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Thank you. What a nice sentiment. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you as well. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.